I love NXT again. And it didn't take much. All it took was for some Charlie Brown adults to show up and take away Tony D'Angelo, and I was like, you know what? I'm 100% in. I'm all the way in. I can't wait to talk about that. We'll talk about it when we get there. Nothing substantial in news and notes. So let's get straight into the show. NXT, May 16th, 2023. The Women's Championship Tournament continues. The final two quarterfinals matches is on this show. Cora Jade versus Fallon Henley and JC Jane versus Roxanne Perez. So, the first match, Cora Jade and Fallon Henley. This match was solid. It was okay. Cora Jade absolutely botched an Indian Deathlock. It just looked like she had never seen her own legs before. I mean, it looked like she had never seen her own legs before. Like, she didn't know how that move worked and went for it anyway. I mean, considering this is NXT, I'll give it a pass, but usually, come on, man. Yeah, how do you botch an Indian Deathlock? Anyway, I forgot to mention their promos. So, Cora Jade, before the match, says that her coronation is already set at Battleground, and Fallon Henley has been in her bag lately, but nobody can measure up to her. While Fallon Henley says that Cora Jade has all the kinds of championship potential, but that will require her pulling her head out of her own ass. And that she's got more grit than Cora Jade. Okay. That was fine. The match was okay. Cora Jade's double arm DDT, she probably needs to tighten up a little bit on it. But I actually don't dislike that as a finish. She's a small woman, you know, and she's only like 24 or something like that. So her having a simple DDT style finisher actually works. I also like how she got into it. It was through a chop block. Fallon Henley was getting into the ring. Cora Jade chop blocked her. And then, you know, while she was dazed and getting back onto her feet, she positioned her for the DDT and won. All right, fine. So now Cora Jade will wrestle her rival, Lyra Valkyria, in the next round. Pretty much saw that coming. There was no surprise there. The only surprise, I guess, is that Cora Jade won this match clean. Which, honestly, that probably shouldn't have been a surprise either. But, I don't know. They seem to be really dead set on making sure people get over in these matches. Or at least trying to get people over in these matches. Alright, so in the main event, JC Jane wrestled Roxanne Perez. So earlier in the night, JC Jane cut a promo and showed people what actual personality looks like. She was perfectly smarmy by when the microphone holder asked if she was confident that she could defeat Roxanne Perez. She's like, no, actually, I'm not confident I could beat Roxanne Perez. And then, of course, she laughed and said, it's me. Of course I'm confident. Said she wants better questions when she's become the women's champion. And that she was looking forward to wrestling Gigi Dolan in the next round, but Gigi Dolan is a failure as a daughter, as a sister, and as a friend. And of course, she's a failure in not winning the women's championship. They really watered that seed that's been planted a long time ago. Really watering that seed. They getting that seed wet. Anyway, Roxanne Perez, her promo consisted of a vision board saying that she has been at NXT officially 1 full year, and she has a vision board filled with all the things that she did for the year. And she's so excited, even though it's nerve-wracking, to see what she's going to do next year. And the next year is an empty board with like Raw, SmackDown, NXT, WrestleMania, and stuff all over it. And I'm just kind of like, now we're doing vision boards. Look, didn't Ryback have a vision board? When they did the gimmick when he was reading The Promise or something like that, The Secret, he was trying to get people to read The Secret. I think he had a vision board, didn't he? I want to figure out whether Ryback had a vision board or not. Now, when it comes to the vision board, under normal circumstances, I would attack this as being incredibly childish, but I have more respect for arts and crafts than that. I respect a good arts project. If done well, if interesting, I respect a good arts project, and a success board or something like that is no different than having an Instagram account, except for you legitimately took time to find magazines and cut pictures out and paste them to a poster board. Hey, I'm all for it. That's something that is probably good for people's mental health. And I'm not going to attack her for that. I will attack her for, however, the vocal skills that she did not show during this promo. For instance, her saying, it's nerve-wracking, but I'm so excited for, the opportunities of what's going to happen in the next year. I was just kind of like, what? She just comes across perpetually like a doe-eyed little girl wandering through WWE. It's almost like she's Alice in Wonderland or something like that. Like, she, I don't get it. I don't get why she's so this way, why she hasn't gotten the idea that she deserves to be here yet. It's just almost like you've been here a year and we're still going in the dream state. Like, there needs to be something like drastic needs to happen. Like, there needs to be something world shattering where Roxanne Perez is actually brought down to reality and she's no longer hid in the clouds, boring Roxanne Perez. But until that happens, I don't know what the hell to do. All right, so let's talk about this match, though. Because this match was actually the best match of the round. Best women's match they've had in a while. JC Jane actually kept up. Roxanne Perez, as far as the in-ring worker goes, is one of the best in the division. She is very good. I've been watching her on the Independent. She's very good. JC Jane, I saw her in Evolve. And I was kind of glad when she got picked up by WWE. She's also kind of good. And she's really, really worked on her personality. And she's showing a lot more of that. And that's really where I think she's shining right now, is in terms of her look and her personality and how she interacts with the audience, how she interacts with other people. And I think her character is on point right now. She doesn't win a lot, but she doesn't have to, because she's really good at, being aggravating and being mean. And she's very good at that. So Roxanne Perez wins with her Pop Rocks finish, which I'm not a fan of. But whatever. She won clean. Good match. Following the match, Gigi Dolan attacked JC Jane, and they had a slight brawl before the men interrupted them. So they're still going with the Gigi Dolan JC Jane thing. I don't know why they didn't decide. They decided not to have Gigi cost JC the match. I get it. She's a babyface. But the shit that JC Jane had been talking, I think people would have been okay if Gigi would have pulled her leg or something, just to add some extra heat to this match. Because them brawling at the end of the show was okay, I guess. It wasn't a great brawl, but it was passable, I guess. But I think it would have been better if, she'd have pulled JC Jane's leg or something. And, JC Jane was on the ground and Gigi berated her like, oh yeah, now who's a failure, blah, 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 blah. And I think just to kind of get her receipt for what she did with her brother, it would have been interesting. And also, I probably would have had JC Jane cost Gigi Dolan her match too. So it would have been everybody's interfering in everybody else's match. But they believe in clean victories here in NXT. So that's what we're going with. All right. So Roxanne Perez will be wrestling Tiffany Stratton next week. That ought to be a very solid match. And that's a pick'em. I can honestly, the semifinal matches are actually pretty well done, in so much that I could see either girl winning. I could see Tiffany Stratton winning. I could see Roxanne Perez winning. I could see Lyra Valkyria winning. I could see Cora Jade winning. I can make an argument specifically that a babyface probably shouldn't win this tournament, and that maybe a heel should win, and then one of the babyfaces should chase. Personally, of course, I said, 2 weeks ago, probably should have been Tiffany Stratton should win the tournament. Cora Jade winning the tournament is also pretty good. So I'm not sure, but one of the heels should win, and then the other women should chase. I just have a weird sense of it won't work out if a babyface wins the tournament, because I think the heel winning the title without beating the last champion and, feeling themselves as being the real champion works for me. All right. I'm still going to go with Tiffany Stratton versus Lyra Valkyria in the main event of the tournament, though. So I'm still going to go with Tiffany Stratton being the champion. All right. Kiana James is backstage. Thea Hale is upset about Cora Jade and Fallon Henley. They get into an argument because Kiana James, who was in the tournament, says there is a difference between fans and wrestlers and their perspective on wrestling matches. And she referred to Thea Hale as a child. Thea Hale says that she should have been in the tournament and that she could have beat Kiana James. And then Kiana challenged her to a match but said, "Oh, you might need a permission slip." So then Thea Hale was like, "No, I don't. I just need to ask Mr. Chase." And she was like, "Oh, no. I'll ask Duke." So she asked Duke, and Duke just said, "Okay, sure, whatever." Without even looking up, he agreed to the match. So later on, Thea Hale, of course, in her very excitable way, is bouncing around. She's ready for her match. She's very excited. She's ready to go. And Duke Hudson had forgotten that he gave her permission to have this match. And so he had to go ringside, and he took his notepad with him. So then they had the match, Thea Hale versus Kiana James. The match was solid. It was okay. Thea Hale is actually, they're building her up nicely, I think. She's not winning a lot, but she's showing a lot of promise, especially in her Scrappy-Doo style character. Kiana James is legitimately pretty good in terms of women's wrestlers in WWE. She's much better than people are giving her credit for in terms of character and in ring. At this point, Duke Hudson's outside the ring and he is not paying attention. He's like taking notes and he's jotting down stuff. He's not even looking anywhere near the ring. His entire body is looking in a different direction. So Thea Hale ends up losing to Kiana James' finisher. Then she immediately rolls out to the ring and goes to Duke Hudson for comfort, wrapping her arms around his waist. And he's like, "Oh, what's this?" Because he wasn't paying attention. He didn't realize that she lost. So they're doing a good job of this covert heel turn of Duke Hudson, who basically is not even covert at this point. He basically is a heel. And people are sort of just ignoring that he's a heel. He's a heel, except Thea Hale hasn't caught on to her yet. But so I like this. Duke Hudson as this sort of shitty substitute teacher. I love it. It's fun. All right, it's very fun. Thea Hale is fun too, so she's making this thing work because she truly believes in Duke Hudson, and she truly believes in Chase University, and her commitment to the gimmick and commitment to the character actually works. Because Duke Hudson is trading on that, you know. It wouldn't work if she didn't buy into everything. All right. Next, Wesley and Tyler Bate are meditating. Then they get jumped by the Schism and beat up. I was like, praise God. Wesley sucks. So this cancels their tag team match for the night. They were supposed to wrestle Charlie Dempsey and Drew Gulak. So Dempsey and Gulak were being told that their match was being canceled when they got somewhat slighted by Trick and Melo. And somebody said something to somebody while they were in that aisleway, which led to them arguing in the ring. But the Wesley Tyler Bate thing continued later, with Tyler Bate being in the training room with his arm in a sling. And Wesley was so pissed off, he decided to march to the ring. So he goes to the ring and he says that Joe Gacy pissed him off. If he wanted a title shot, all he had to do was ask. Said that he calls Schism a family, but in reality, they're all sheep. This brings out Joe Gacy, who is on the balcony. He says that he has never been dishonest and that he does want the North American title. And that Ava Raine added that Tyler Bate was the one being dishonest. That Tyler Bate is the one who really wants the championship, who was pretending to be Wesley's friend. So they cut to Tyler Bate, who was in the training room, and he gets off the stretcher table or whatever, and he goes to the ring. At that point, he starts yelling at Joe Gacy, saying that he's got a receipt coming, and says he's tired of this childish rubbish. He gets in the ring. Wesley thinks that both he and Tyler Bate are going to fight Joe Gacy, and thinking that, at the very least, Joe Gacy's going to have 2 matches. So then Tyler Bate turns to Wesley and says, well, mate, I'm going to be up front with you, mate. I do want a North American title shot. And Wesley was offended. He got real upset, real tight-assed about it because this is his buddy. So Gacy and Ava are instigating that Tyler Bate is dishonest and he's, they're driving the wedge. Ultimately, this ends in a triple threat match. A triple threat match. Oh my God. Didn't we just do this shit? Didn't we just do this? What is the problem, man? What is the issue? Fuck. Look, this is not good. And I'm going to say why it's not good and how it could be better. The whole thing with Gacy and Ava instigating, saying that, oh no, Tyler Bate is the one. He's really the one who's going to stab you in the back. That's fine. Up to that point, we were doing good. Tyler Bate coming out there, good. He's wearing a little arm sling or whatever. Okay, good. I'm thinking, what should have happened, Wesley turns his back and Tyler Bate blasts him across the head with that arm cast. Because, in wrestling, if you're wearing a cast, it's like having a bat on your arm. And he knocks Wesley out and challenges Wesley to the match. And, that would have been so much better. So much better. Because then he could have done Gacy and Wesley some other point in time. But prioritized Tyler Bate versus Wesley for the title at Battleground. They could have even had Tyler Bate say he can't wrestle in a triple threat match because of his arm, and then he's going to back out of it, and then have Gacy wrestle Wesley, and then after that match, Tyler Bate blast him across the head with the crutch or whatever, and just to turn heel. The heel turn is what should have happened here. All right. Having this bullshit idea that we're just going to have, well, I'll fight you both. And then him saying, I'm not so sure I can trust you, Tyler. Come on. You're all adults here. Why is Tyler Bate, give me a good reason why he can't turn heel. There is not one. This dude needs a heel turn bad. I'm talking bad. He needs a heel turn bad. He is so bad. Tyler Bate sucks so bad right now. He's shit. Wesley is coming along. I'm still not a huge fan of him, but at least he's coming along. Gacy is Gacy. He's not as funny as he used to be. They made him substantially less funny. Ava Raine is still coming along in her promos. She needs more promo class, apparently. So there that go. But I cannot believe we're doing triple threat matches still. It's the shits. I'm telling you, it's the shits. It's garbage. Garbage. Next, Trick and Melo. After having words with Gulak and Charlie Dempsey, they go to the ring to call out Bron Breakker. Melo says, we don't bark, we bite in my yard. At that point, Charlie Dempsey comes out with Drew Gulak. They interrupt. They felt disrespected by whatever took place in that hallway. I wasn't paying attention. As the crowd starts chanting Willy Wonka at Charlie Dempsey because he looks like Gene Wilder. That was very good. Of course, they got into a scrap. They fought in the ring. This leads to the tag team match later where Trick and Melo defeats Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey. I can't believe Charlie Dempsey took a loss again. I don't know. I think he would have been more protected in this, but I guess they're making everybody earn it. Everybody's going through the meat grinder these days. After the match, Trick and Melo call out Bron Breakker again, only to get a video of Bron Breakker in Cut Wiz, the barbershop that Carmelo Hayes frequents. He's there to get fresh before he finishes his business tonight. So after the women do their brawl at the main event of the show, Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams comes out again, says, I know traffic ain't that damn bad. Where you at? Where you at, bruh? Bron shows up with a cadre, an entourage, a plethora of security guards, saying, of course, the classic line, they're not here to protect me from you, but to protect you from me. Because he wants to make sure that he ends the title reign in Boston, ruins the homecoming, makes the family cry, the whole 9 yards, which he says is more interesting to him than winning the title now. He's been the champion, but he's never got a chance to humiliate a Boston native in Boston. Carmelo Hayes says, well, you thought you were untouchable until you got touched. And that, he's definitely going to continue to be the NXT champion. And of course, there was a fight. And, because there's always a fight. And that's kind of how we went off the shows with those guys fighting. I think they needed something hotter at the end of the show, if you're asking me. I think just them fighting at the end, it should have been like a reveal or something. Maybe Bron has another video, and it's like a cam video of like all of Carmelo Hayes' friends laid out around the barbershop. And, because, you didn't see him touch anybody. They was just nervous that he was there. So maybe that at the end of the show, the security guards are there. And he was like, well, I just kind of want to show you something. That's what I came here for. And he goes to the screen. And all of the barber and everybody's on the ground like, and then Carmelo could try to, charge him through the security guards and everything and get held back. Bron can laugh at him, turn around and walk away, a la Brock Lesnar. And, you could add a little bit more heat to this. That's what I would have done, personally. If you're already in the barbershop, and I'm assuming everybody in there is some kind of actor. Just put them down on the ground, get somebody's cell phone and record, and have Bron laughing in the background, making snide comments and everything. You don't need to actually show him beating up anybody. You could just show the aftermath. The chairs knocked over, there's stuff all over the place. Maybe he writes Bron Breaker rules and, something on the wall or, whatever. Just to piss off Carmelo and Trick. It's also very weird that we get a coward chant at Bron Breakker when he's on a 2-on-1 disadvantage, because Trick Williams is absolutely helping Carmelo Hayes. So this is absolutely a 2-on-1 situation, and they're calling him out like continuously, but I guess that's one of those things we just have to ignore. You're not supposed to pay attention to that. But that Willy Wonka dig was fucking hilarious. All right, so Dijak, he's backstage saying that he's the judge, jury, and executioner of NXT. Ilya Dragunov appeared out of nowhere, said that he was unbreakable, and that pain was inevitable, but suffering is optional. At this point, Dijak, I guess, attacked him, kidnapped him. I don't know what he did to him. But then we got some of the most sexually seductive stuff in NXT history, where throughout the night, we just apparently goes back to Dijak's dungeon, where Dragunov is in there sweating, and, he thinks that he's broken Dragunov, and Dragunov like, no, it's not over. I'm still standing. So Dijak continues to go to work on him. And I was thinking, like, Dragunov walked in there of his own volition and basically walked into a kidnapping. A kidnap torture, by the way, because this is clearly a torture. Because I do believe he had a baton later in the night, that he had some kind of nightstick or something like that. And I think Dragunov was tied up, like he was bound by handcuffs or something like that. It was really weird. Really weird set of scenes that we had here. But clearly they were going for the Dijak is going to give Dragunov everything he's got. And it's not going to be enough to break him. He's sending them to Guantanamo Bay. so that he can be psychologically tortured. You know, you want to make the man break? This is how you do it. You don't hit him with your baton. You set him up like Clockwork Orange. Nothing but Natalya matches. Natalya's greatest hits for 2 hours on YouTube or something like that. That man will be weeping, pissing himself, crying. That man would be so broken, he'd be like a goddamn pet puppy afterwards. You rub his belly and he'll roll over for you. He'll jump through hoops and everything. He'd be like, if you're, I don't know, I can't make the Purple Man joke because I don't think anybody knows who the Purple Man is. I'm pretty sure you watched the Jessica Jones, right? Purple Man, the guy who could control you with his voice. It'd be like that. You know, you get brainwashed for watching Natalya matches. If Dijak really wants to torture people, I got some ideas. I mean, put him in a sound deprivation room with no way of seeing, with his arms tied behind his back, and put a loudspeaker in there and just punch Marina Shafir promos into that joint for like 4 hours. I'm telling you, that dude would be so mentally broken. He probably would have chewed his own inside jaw off. He probably would have ran his head against the wall so many times and he probably been trying to break dance in that joint. All right. He been that boy like a full loon. I got some ideas if you want to drive people crazy. I got ideas. All right. But he decided to go baton route. So I guess that's his choice. I personally think that my psyops are worse, you know. It'd be like an episode of the Twilight Zone fucking with me, man. You know. You know. I'll give you all these books with no glasses to read. You know. At least they continue this throughout the show to show how tough Dragunov is. I'm wondering what kind of match they're going to have at Battleground. Is it going to be like last man standing? What? You know, no holds barred? What is it going to be? I'm going to guess last man standing is probably the best option, right? All right, the second match on the show. I know, just got to the second match. The Creed brothers defeated the Dyad. The crowd got really behind this. The Dyad has actually been not doing too bad lately, but I didn't care about this match at all. I just cared about the Creed brothers because they rule. Ivy and Ava got into it outside the ring. What Ivy putting Ava in the Dragon Sleeper for a little while. It turned out that she didn't like that very much, which I could have guessed she wouldn't. Anyway, next, Danny Palmer was attacked backstage after a match at a house show against Stevie Turner. So the hooded figure in NXT is not going to be Stevie Turner. I am surprised by this. So why isn't she on TV? So Danny Palmer was attacked by this hidden person. And so now it's looking more and more like it's going to be Blair Davenport. All right, I'm cool with that. Now my favorite part of the show, Tony D'Angelo and Stax. Tony D'Angelo gets pulled in for questioning. So Stax is, he's handling business. First, Tony D'Angelo was pretty upset that he got threatened by Joe Coffey with the baton. He's not a fan of that. And he's like, look, we're going to talk to Joe Coffey about that. We're going to have a conversation with him about that because he don't know who he's messing with. So Stax get on the phone to talk about the quote unquote cargo at the port. So he walks off a little bit. He got to talk some business. While he's doing that, two Charlie Brown police officers, full grown adults with like arm tattoos and everything. You get to see their badges. So you see the badges like we're cops, like for real police officers. And they tell Tony D'Angelo that they want to bring him down to the precinct for questioning. And he's like, for what? And they're like, criminal acts that you have been associated with. And I'm like, criminal acts? Didn't he commit like 2 murders? Like he's committed like a bunch of felonious assaults. He kidnapped Pretty Deadly at one point. Like criminal acts. The guy's a one-man gang at this point. Like what the hell? So Tony D'Angelo doesn't actually get arrested. He doesn't actually get arrested. He's under investigation. And he basically got picked up by the boys. And it was funny. Stacks came back, found out that Tony D had been taken away, and he's very frustrated by this. So now that Tony D'Angelo is gone, the Creed brothers want to slide in and take their title match, which apparently that's what's going to happen, I guess. So a lot of people are like, okay, who snitched on Tony D'Angelo? Who told on him? And a lot of people think that it's Stacks. A lot of people think that Stacks snitched on Tony D'Angelo. I think, and we should just go full born with it, Stacks should be a police officer. Stacks should be the cops. That's what it should be. Stacks should be the cops. And he shows everybody where we threw 2 dimes. We threw 2 dimes over there. He's dead. We kidnapped Pretty Deadly. We tried to murder them, but they survived. And then, after Stacks is revealed as being a police officer who has been investigating the D'Angelo family, then 2 dimes comes back. See, you got to bring 2 dimes back so Tony D'Angelo doesn't go to jail for murder, right? So you have to bring 2 dimes back so that Tony D'Angelo doesn't go to jail for murder. And since Pretty Deadly are not dead, technically he did some pretty felonious stuff, but nobody's dead, so it's all okay, right? That's how I would do it, personally. I love this retarded stuff. This is so ridiculous. Police officers who don't say who they are, they don't even announce themselves as police officers. They just stroll up to him and like, come with us. And he's like, who's the you? I don't know whose you are. I ain't going nowhere. Mr. D'Angelo, we need you for investigation for criminal acts that have been associated with your name. He's like, you're ruining my dinner, my spaghetti. You're ruining my lasagna, my chicken parmesan. And I'm like, I love this stupid shit. Oh, this is the stupid shit that I come for. I love this stupid shit. Real G's move in silence like lasagna. I love it. What a great segment. What a great segment. Tony D'Angelo is having a good time and the cops just showed up. They don't have faces. They don't have names. They just got polo shirts and tattoos. They're not even in uniforms. Like, bro, this is great. You don't see like the police cars flashing or nothing. They just strolled up to him and asked him very politely, criminal acts. Okay. I mean, why are you hassling Tony D'Angelo? I mean, you need to patrol the NXT parking lot. That's what you need to do. You need to be on post outside the NXT parking lot where apparently a bunch of women got beat up in the parking lot. Tony D'Angelo ain't got nothing to do with that, I bet. Unless you're blaming him just because he's Italian. It's not fair. That's discrimination. So, I mean, how many thick NXT girls have to get attacked in the parking lot before the cops show up to do something? How many? How many pretty little fillies got to go down before the cops step in? Why you got a 4-month reaction time? But Tony D'Angelo, I mean, all he did is throw some guys in the river, and all of a sudden the cops showing up hassling him. Come on, man. You got people out here getting nasty carry getting every damn week in the parking lot. Next, Superstar Sessions with Noam Dar. His guest is Dragon Lee. I said it last week. I reiterate, not everybody needs to have a talk show. This thing, I don't think it went over very well, personally. I don't think it bombed, as in it embarrassed everybody involved, but I don't think it was great either. I don't think it was a great usage of everybody involved either. So, Dragon Lee, to cut this short, says that Noam Dar does not have any respect, while Dragon Lee is a second-generation wrestler and was raised on respect and tradition, and later challenged Noam Dar to defend the cup. Noam Dar spent most of this thing making fun of Dragon Lee's English and saying that he doesn't want to defend the title because Dragon Lee doesn't understand the rules, and you have to be a master of these kinds of rules in order to win the title. This led to Nathan Fraser running out there, and Nathan Fraser is apparently in Dragon Lee's corner, saying that he wants to see Dragon Lee challenge for the title, and He wants to see the title defended. It's not a participation trophy for him to just walk around with. So, Noam Dar accepted Dragon Lee's challenge for the Heritage Cup title at Battleground and said he wanted to fight Nathan Frazer non-title next week. So, hey, look at what happened here. Because the Heritage Cup title doesn't work in a triple threat format, it's not a triple threat match. They rightfully picked one of the guys for him to fight next week, and he's going to fight the other guy at the pay-per-view. Now, technically speaking, they probably should make the Nathan Frazer Noam Dar match a British Rounds rules match. The reason being is so that people will understand what the rules are, because a lot of people don't know what the rules are because they didn't watch NXT UK. So they probably should make it a British Rounds rules match just so people can get familiar with the rules. Because I think, having people see it for the first time at the pay-per-view, it's interesting, I guess, if you've never seen it before, but it could also be kind of off-putting. So maybe give people the opportunity to see it first. Also, putting Noam Dar over Nathan Frazer is interesting. You would think Nathan Frazer would be higher up on the pecking order, but he's not. So, so there it goes. He's not. I'm not upset about it either, if we're being honest. All right, let's move on. Daba Kato is cut a promo. He's back to dominate. And everybody had thought he was leaving. He's going to get drafted. But nope. He's back. He's got goals to capture, and everyone is his prey. So then we get moved over to the locker room where Axim is in there being boring. And Idris Inofe and Malik Blade are there. And Eddie Thorpe is there being boring. And they're all talking about Daba Kato and how dangerous he is. And Axim is, I would love to turn the 33rd. I would love to be able to climb that mountain. I like climbing mountains. Can you hear me through this stupid mask? No, I can't actually. No, I can't. I'll need to turn my volume up. Please get rid of this mask. Okay? Please. Axiom sucks. The character sucks. Let's just go back to A-Kid. I know he was painfully skinny, but at least it was him. Please. Then make him grow a beard or something, okay? That'll help him out. Maybe make him grow a beard. He looks less like a child. But I miss Malik Blade and Idris Inofe. I like those two guys. They should be doing more. Eddie Thorpe, throw him in the bin. I don't know. I don't know and I don't care, if we're being quite honest. All right. So Tank and Hank, they're backstage. Tank is showing off his new teeth after his tooth got knocked out last week. So Briggs and Jensen are very, very impressed with the toughness of Tank and Hank. And they talked about how they became a stronger team after they had a match against each other. And so Tank had the brilliant idea that they should fight. Him and Hank should fight. And if they fight, they might become a better tag team. It might become a bonding experience. So Hank accepted. And I looked at this and I said, you know what? This is actually on the nose. This is kind of how wrestling has worked for a long time. Usually guys who had a lot of matches against each other end up being tag team partners. They usually have good chemistry. I think Sabu and Taz, that's why Paul Heyman made them a tag team. That's also why he made the Bad Breed, the Rotten Boys, Ian and Axel Rotten, why he made them a tag team, because they were always wrestling each other. Same thing with Public Enemy, if I remember correctly. He just picked guys who usually, they knew the other guy, they worked with him all the time, and so they knew that these guys could work together, and they would make them a tag team. So this is actually not that off board when it comes to tag teams in wrestling. It's just coming across weird because people are not used to stuff like this. Like, nobody ever saw the Road Warriors fight each other. For what? And who the hell wants to see that? But if you want to watch a match and be very, very, very uncomfortable, there's a WCW match. I forget what year. I think it might be 1992, where they separated the Rock and Roll Express, and they turned Ricky Morton into Richard Morton, and he was a member of the York Foundation, and he was in like the Cruiserweight tournament or whatever, and he had to wrestle Robert Gibson. Like, man, that match is uncomfortable. Like, I think that's might be one of the few matches, if not the only match, that the Rock and Roll Express ever had against each other. And considering they're one of the greatest tag teams of all time, it's kind of weird that they forced them to do that. I know a lot of people were weirded out by the Arn Anderson Ric Flair match from, what was that, Fall Brawl at in WCW. So they do this stuff, you know, off and on with tag team partners wrestle each other. But Hank and Tank have no history. They're not the Rock and Roll Express, not by a long shot. But I'm just saying, in terms of wrestling history, it sounds dumb that guys would have a quote unquote bonding experience while fighting each other. But typically that's how bookers made tag teams. And sometimes they would have guys who would have good chemistry against each other and team them up. So, at least there's some kind of thread of sense here. But why can't we feature Idris Enofe and Malik Blade a little bit more on this show? I think they have earned it. All right. The only other segment is Von Wagner, who was getting a pep talk from some young lady. And then he assaulted some other guy, standing up for Robert Stone. And because he believes Robert Stone is the only guy who truly believes in him. But in reality, Robert Stone still wants to talk about that picture of him being sick as a baby. And Von Wagner is not interested, does not care, doesn't want to do it. Ultimately, this is a very solid episode of NXT. I think it's time for NXT to bring in some new blood. Like, I know that they just brought in Danny Palmer and Tank Ledger and Oba Femi, but Oba Femi hasn't been back yet. Tank is showing a little bit more personality. I give him credit. He's coming across pretty well here in these backstage vignettes and stuff. Sorry, the backstage promos and stuff. But they need more top talent. I'm talking like top of the card talent. Wesley needs somebody who can actually win that title from him. Carmelo Hayes needs somebody to feud with after Bron Breakker. You know, the women's tag team division is non-existent because the belts are gone. You know, the Fire and Dawn took the belts with them. And nobody mentioned it. They just took the belts and left. Just like nobody is mentioning that the SmackDown champion is on Raw and the Raw champion is on SmackDown. Nobody is mentioning at all that the NXT women's tag team titles have vanished. Like, they're just gone. And nobody said anything. They're just gone. I guess they'll figure it out once they figure out the women's title picture. So, the Heritage Cup is fine, you know, as an addition. But to me, NXT is back to having somewhat fun. We need more skits, more ridiculous stuff. Like Tony D'Angelo getting arrested. I'm all for that. All right. I'm all for ridiculous shit like that. Go for it. Let's do it. But what say you guys? Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
Bongo Slave.